This NBA playoff picks edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, golf, MLB, MMA, NHL, and more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com using promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match. Plus, the NFL Draft is coming up, and Old Fashioned Football is giving away some autographed NFL merch. Head to SportsGamblingPodcast.com/OFF contest to enter today. And we're also giving away $200 cash in our NBA playoff round 1 prop contest. Sign up link is in our NBA channel on our Discord.
This is Terry Francona, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Ooh, welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
I do have. I'll just report it straight up. Man in the Box was in here for a long time today by himself.
Oh,
Just saying, he might have fucked around and gotten a triple double.
yes, man of the box putting in some work. We also, Ryan, double session. We got a bonus episode dropping. So make sure you check that out. We got some celebrity interviews. We got Dwight Freeney, who's now in the Hall of Fame. Terry Francona, of course, a World Series champion manager, and Super Bowl champ himself, Rex Burkhead. So fun set of interviews. Those are dropping, I guess, what, next episode?
Rex was the only single champ, or one time. I mean, double Hall of Famer, double World Series champion, college and pro. Yeah, it should be. It will be. Honestly, if you're listening to this, it's probably already out. It will drop sometime early on Friday morning.
Some fun Michael Jordan stories peppered in there as well. So good times.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, typically when we're doing these charity golf interviews, as far as rating the entire collection, probably one of the better collections. I would say. Great energy, good moods. No one was wasted after a full round of golf,
and we got some Michael Jordan stories. So
Lawrence Taylor,
yeah, which always somehow
Michael Vick.
I feel like every one of these celebrities we interview has some sort of, well, we're hanging out and you wouldn't believe Michael Jordan tried to get us to gamble a bunch. So good times over there. Make sure you check that out. But of course, we're here talking NBA picks. Joining us on the line, hosts on the NBA Gambling Podcast, we got Munaf the Machine Manji. What's happening, Munaf?
What's going on, guys? NBA playoffs this weekend. I'm excited. A lot of great stuff happening right now. So let's get to it, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I feel like we just caught Munaf. He was playing a couple hands of blackjack or something.
Yeah, and some other sweating out some other side bet.
You know, when you're doing 5 pods a day for the network and trying to schedule more for tomorrow, you know, it gets a little busy. It's a 10:45 my time, so you know the grind continues.
Content mine never closes here at SGPN. Joining us, the canary down the coal mine of the content mine, Mr. Scott Reichel. What's happening, Scott?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Looking forward to being on this show, talking about the NBA. Then I have a tennis podcast to record, so it's going to be a pretty fun night for me. But can't complain. A pretty interesting group of games so far, and we got a long way to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think some ways the Sixers were fortunate to win with, Jimmy Butler getting injured there. But there were a couple crazy calls in that game as well, especially with the cover. I think if you had the under in that game, you're particularly pissed off.
Favorite thing about not being dialed into the NBA all season is remembering how much Jimmy Butler looks like Michael Jordan every year playoff time.
Well, now he's out. Looks like he's going to be out for a while. Unfortunately,
Jordan wouldn't miss the game.
No, for Heat fans,
maybe he's not his son.
Maybe it's not quite the same DNA. And then Zion really put the team on his back, almost single-handedly took down the Lakers, and then he got hurt. So we're gonna have some weird games to break through. And then through all this, Jontay Porter has been banned for life. Munaf, how say you, Jontay Porter banned for life? You had the controversial take pre-show. You're like, people are making a big deal out of this. Let them play. What's your take on Jontay Porter?
It's not. I mean, it's definitely not going to be the last time we hear about a player, whether it's in the NBA or the NFL.
It might be if they're more. If the players are more popular, we might not hear about it. I would say that could be the case.
Yeah. I think the funny part to me is when you bet $80,000 on a parlay for a guy that's 11th or 12th on the bench.
Yes.
I mean, that's going to raise some red flags from coming from the sports book. I mean, even the books are not that stupid. If it was like maybe like $500 or maybe $1,000, you kind of got away with it. But $80,000 on a guy that is coming in for 4 or 5 minutes talking about, oh, just got poked in the eye, I need to come out of the game for the rest of the game. It's gonna, it's gonna raise some red flags. But
it reminds me of.
But if he loses, they don't ever. There's no flags.
No,
there's no flags if they lose the bet.
No, that's the other thing. They froze it. It became suspicious when they won the bet. Otherwise, it was like, yeah, we'll take this bet. And it kind of reminds me of my dad's like beer fridge in high school. There was a certain number I know that I could take out of his fridge that would not cause alarm. And it was in this gray area, not so many beers he would investigate or actually do due diligence. But if I emptied out his whole beer fridge, he would have some questions.
I totally can relate to this.
Yes. Or like
there's a threshold for everything.
Or if your parents need a liquor bottle, you put a little water in, there's a line, and Jontay Porter clearly crossed it. I mean, Scott, I feel like you've shared some screenshots of you trying to get down on some deviant DJ only bets, only to be limited to a fairly small amount. Who is this guy's account that he was able to get 80,000 on a Jontay Porter parlay? That to me is an interesting part of this story.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was going to make, which is why that's actually the most frustrating detail of this story. I think I'm limited on that exact book to $200 per bet. That's what I'm limited on, and guys just throwing out 80K. That was what I was jealous about. It wasn't actually the winning, it was the ability to bet whatever he wanted. I really wish I can go back to a time when that was the case, but I'm limited to $200. So I can make the most of that, I guess, per bet. But yeah, that's the unfortunate side of the situation. But as for the Porter situation, I'm confused why there was a debate on whether or not he was going to get banned from the sport. Like, what argument do you have to keep him in the sport? Of course he's going to get banned. I'm confused how there's no criminal charges here. Guy was point shaving. Like, how is there no criminal charges being attached to this? I have no idea.
They were only going to win like 13, 14 games on the season.
This
so
is the crazy part.
These
fraud young people, he honestly, it's like the Chappelle thing. I didn't know I couldn't do that. I truly believe these young people, they have no idea. But Scott's right. Like this, you have this is the exact thing they have to ban you for life for. This is the one case where you have to not play. You can't get caught betting against yourself.
Yeah,
it's the one. This is the scenario.
And it is funny. We've seen almost every version of these guys doing the wrong thing, gambling. Yeah. It's like betting on their own team, betting on their own sport. To me, it's just simplified. And FanDuel, these operators or whatever. I don't even know where this one was for sure, but
I think it was DraftKings.
Yeah, like they should be the ones. Hey, if Jontay Porter signs up, he had a VIP host. Like, what are you doing? You're really gonna ruin this for everyone. If I was the NBA commissioner, anyone that's on the league, as soon as they join the league, all their information sent to these operators and say, bar their accounts from ever betting basketball.
Players Association.
The Players Association.
Someone's got to.
They should save these guys from themselves. Yeah. Honestly, it's costing them money. It's costing the Players Association. They're the ones that, guys. I mean, look at Calvin Ridley. Look at how much money he lost. Like, they should be. I mean, I know they should know better, but we know these are professional athletes who don't always think things through. Like, all these operators should ban all the players. They have the player history.
Do you believe everything you see?
Do I? No.
Well, what if there has been we've heard a lot of back channel information, Sean, off the record.
Yeah.
About how a lot of people, you're going to see a lot of people getting in trouble soon. And that's obviously not good for business, not good for the league, not good for DK, FanDuel, whoever. So why not create a situation with a, not the biggest star in the league.
Oh, fall guy.
And we'll call him a patsy.
Yeah.
You create a story, and guess what? You forget one minor detail about this $80,000 same game parlay it's a unicorn. It's not gettable.
It was a honeypot. It was set up. It was a setup from the beginning because they as soon as they knew. I like that theory. Because I mean, honestly, imagine if this was LeBron. Do you think he's banned for life? That's a crazy hypothetical. There's no way.
There were conspiracies about LeBron with the unreported steroid stuff going on, or HGH in the NBA, which I'm not going to get into, but there are rumors that there's a lot of athletes potentially on steroids in the NBA, and nobody's actually talking about it, but except Tristan Thompson, whatever he's doing. But the point is, there are some rumors about that with LeBron. I think Jontay did it. He had a paywall with a Discord server, right? He had like an investment Discord thing, and they're behind a paywall.
These Discords are getting out of control these days.
Bet the unders. Like there was a thing about Jontay Porter with his Discord investment, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure that was a thing too. So no, I don't think Jontay was a fall guy. I think he was actually just being an idiot, and he thought that it was get rich quick scheme. You can't get hurt. You can't lose money, and you can't get hurt. And then they obviously get hurt. But you mentioned the LeBron situation. There have been some unreported rumors or conspiracies about HGH. And LeBron has been linked to that, mostly by conspiracy theorists on the internet. But I'm saying that would be your LeBron argument there, not the gambling part.
I believe it.
No, they definitely, whatever LeBron is on is not on the banned substance list. And if he did test positive for it, they would adjust the banned substance list. But and you'll see it, and I'm making this prediction that there's going to be some more NFL, NBA guys that were involved in that same bookmaking scheme that Ohtani's boy Ipe got busted in. There will be some more suspensions coming from that. So stay tuned, including now this one really got swept under the rug. Maverick Carter, who is LeBron's guy, business wise, was also betting through this guy. Now, how has no one else come to the conspiracy theory of everyone thinks that LeBron secretly has a piece of this agency, which you're not allowed to do as a player, but it's his boy and the agency's doing really well. And maybe when LeBron retires, all of a sudden he gets a gift from this agency.
No.
If LeBron did want to gamble, why is no one connecting it to Maverick Carter? We'll leave that to the conspiracy theories. Hey, no conspiracy though when it comes to Game Time. GameTime.co. Head over there, download the Game Time app, use the promo code SGPN, get you $20 off. Maybe you want to watch these NBA playoffs in person. Maybe you want to yell at the players about not hitting the prop bets. The NBA players complaining about fans yelling at them for the prop bets has been a funny storyline. It's like, Russell Westbrook, fans are always going to yell at you, so it's just kind of part of the deal. But again, get some great seats. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. These are the best times of the season. Of course, MLB, always great day to hang out at the ballpark and get some great deals, flash deals, zone deals, all in pricing. They make it simple. They make it easy. And use the promo code SGPN. You get $20 off. GameTime.co. Use the promo code SGPN. Have to address this in the chat. Olan Johnson wants to know, Scott, what is your super wife won't murder you lock? I assume that's some reference to a previous episode of the NBA Gambling Podcast.
That might be between Munaf and Terrell because I'm not married and I didn't make that joke, but I like it. We might have to add it. Let's get a shirt on that. But anyway, I'll have to get back to you on that. I got to record the tennis show, so I'll get back to you on that one.
I think this has to be a Munaf reference, right?
Maybe it's like, hey, your wife's not going to get upset because it's such a lock. Like you can already start planning the vacation. You're going to take the wife, taking her out to dinner. Munaf, do you know what Olan's referring to?
I have no idea, but I started laughing when y'all were talking because I read the comment.
Maybe he's projecting. Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said
I think maybe.
He said so
he's just trying to get murdered.
He said
I think he got inspired by Jontay Porter. Somebody made 1.1 million and now he's trying to maybe get his wife something nice.
Yeah. All right. So his heart's in the right place. Kramer, we got some Friday night play-in games to close things out here. What are we looking at line wise?
I mean, and incessant on Unbelievable. 80K on a same game parlay. All right. Yeah. We're, producer Josh insisted I go backwards here. So we're doing the late night game, which by the way, is such a bad game that, Scott Reichel took it off from viewing. So I mean, this is saying a lot about an NBA game. The Kings, the Pelicans plus 105, plus 1.5, 210 is the total. Boy, the Warriors, I saw that bet go in the L column to make the playoffs. Very sad to see that ship crash. Now the Pelicans, is Zion maybe he's gonna get that HGH German shot.
Already. Oh no, he's
out. Get into international waters, maybe pop something in there.
No.
Get Coach Bud Kilmer in there, maybe get the knee. Yeah, how do you take the Pelicans here?
This one's tough because there's a lot of things going on. You got the Kings who finally beat the Warriors. That was clearly, in hindsight, such a huge get up spot for them.
That's true.
They lit the beam. They ended Klay Thompson's career as a Warrior, which I know Scott was immediately dancing all over his grave. There was that story about Twitter's AI thought he was like vandalizing places in Sacramento because there were so many tweets about bricks and the Sacramento area with Klay Thompson, which is just all-time great 2024 story. And the Kings, they're going against the Pelicans. Like, this is just such a letdown spot. They have to go down to New Orleans. Kings are 0-5 against the Pelicans this season. Pelicans are 7-5 without Zion. I know it's easy watching that game against the Lakers and think like, oh, hey, Zion's out there completely cooked, but they were 7-5, including a 33-point win over the Kings without Zion. And now they have their backs against the wall. I thought the Pelicans actually had a pretty good home environment. I don't know. This to me is a little tough to take the Kings as a road favorite. But then again, on the other side, Pelicans without Zion, it is an interesting back and forth. I think I'm going to go Pelicans plus 1.5, but Munaf, how say you?
Yeah, I was really going back and forth on this game as well. I think for the Pelicans, they definitely have the guys on the defensive side that can really limit De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. You talk about the Herb Jones of the world. You talk about Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado coming off of the bench. I mean, he could be a pest in front of De'Aaron Fox. But I mean, you mentioned it, right? This Pelicans team has owned this Kings team this season in 5 matchups, and I don't know what really changes here. And we talked about how for the Kings, they're without Keegan Murray. They're without Kevin Huerter. They're without Malik Monk coming off the bench, so their bench really does shorten up here. I think the crowd is really going to energize this Pelicans team even without Zion. I know Brandon Ingram is back, but I still think that he is hurt. He only played 25 minutes in that game against the Lakers, but he's really going to have to step up. And CJ McCollum was absolutely atrocious against the Lakers as well. So I think there's a spot where he really can step up here. I'm going to go with the Pelicans here, plus 1.5. I don't love it. I just do like the fact that they are at home and they do have the defensive horses that can really slow down this Kings team. So I think this turns into a rock fight a little bit, but I do think the Pelicans do come out on top.
Scott, what do you see here? Pelicans Kings.
Yeah, it's tough because one team's 5-0 and they're getting points. So I feel like people are going to be tempted by that automatically. But you mentioned before the Pelicans have a good home court environment, which was true for most of the season. I am going to throw it out there. They have lost 6 straight home games.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I don't know what to make of that.
The home court advantage has kind of become non-existent. Now, we've seen this before in the play-ins. I don't really believe the road team wins many of these elimination games. Just selective recall maybe, but I feel like it's a good overreaction spot, I guess, to the Kings because they killed the Warriors and they were underdogs in that game, and now everyone's going to be on them because Zion's out and New Orleans is a team that kind of owns them. So if you want to go contrarian and take New Orleans, the problem is I don't really want to have money on Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum right now, just based on what I saw in that last game. Ingram was coming back from injury. He got flat out benched. And Zion got injured, and he still didn't come back into the game. Willie Green looked at Brandon Ingram and said, anybody but you. We're going to take our chances and try to figure it out. And they almost did. Alvarado also got hurt in that game. He tried to play through it a couple of times, but you're looking at who can really score the ball for New Orleans. if you have to rely on CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram in a playoff atmosphere, I think I'd rather trust Fox and Sabonis. The problem is the Kings have no bench whatsoever. So if they get into foul trouble, they got issues. I'm going to lean Sacramento, maybe against my better judgment in the head-to-head, but I do think I'd rather have money on Fox and Sabonis, and maybe Keegan Murray too, who was really good. He had 30-plus points in that last game against Golden State. I don't want money on Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, so I'll lean to Sacramento.
Yeah.
I saw someone.
I'm going to say on the Pels, but it doesn't feel great. Definitely not locking it up.
I saw someone referencing Keegan Murray's performance in the last game as a reason why it's been a great couple days for Iowa basketball. All right, good. Nice stretch there. Contrarian, 16% of the bets and the handle on the Pelicans. 16. 84% on the Kings. That does seem like a danger. I'll join you, Sean. I like a good contrarian angle. Yeah.
All right,
let's do it. Well, let's hop over to the East. The Bulls and the Heat. Sean, by the way, the byproduct of the Sixers getting the win in that game is they play the Knicks.
Look out.
Heated rivalry. New York versus New York. I got to get some Knicks swag.
Yeah, you got to pretend to be a Knicks fan, Ryan.
You know, when I was young, I will say in my basement watching that game in the finals when they cut away to OJ, still visually I can see myself back there. Bulls. I mean, what the fuck? For a whole quarter, you go to a goddamn fucking chase? Come on, the Knicks are in the finals finally. Jordan quote unquote retired. Bulls catching a 1.5 plus 105 on the money line. 205 is the total. Munaf. No Jimmy Butler means no Heat, right?
Yeah. It's the fact that the Chicago Bulls are coming off of a game against the worst defense in the entire league in the Atlanta Hawks, and they look really good. And the Hawks were also the worst team against the spread by far. I think it was historical of how bad this team was against the spread. Do they come back down to earth in this game? I think they do. I've been really going back and forth in this game. And this also was spot, like it's not forget last year that Chicago was winning this game against. They were in a very similar situation here against the Miami Heat, that they were up in that game. Miami actually came from behind and they won that game and got in as an 8 seed. And again, we saw them make it the run to the NBA finals last year. This team right now for the Miami, outside of Jimmy Butler, is also decimated by injuries, right? Terry Rozier's already been ruled out. Duncan Robinson is probable for this game, but he also was in the last game against the Sixers and didn't even sniff the floor. I'll lean here with the Chicago Bulls getting the points here. I think DeMar DeRozan steps up here. I think Kobe White can continue not as dominant as he was as having a career night against the Atlanta Hawks. But I think that the overall team right now for the Chicago Bulls team returning the favor of what happened last year, something similar to what the Kings, what the Warriors did to the Kings, that they got their revenge. I think there's a spot here for Chicago. I'm going to go with Chicago plus the 2 here. I mean, could we have any 2 worse games for the 8 seed on this Friday night card? But I'll go with Chicago here.
No, I mean, even DeRozan, I think, was quoted as saying like, yeah, we remember it last year. It was a 15-1 run. I mean, crazy what the odds must have been on Miami to win the East if you could somehow get that future live
right then.
Right then,
very high.
I mean, it was crazy odds just to win that game, and then let alone go on their kind of epic run.
Get 80 grand down on that.
Yeah,
nice.
You get Jontay Porter's guy to get it in for you.
He's got a good account.
Scott, what are you doing here? Bulls Heat.
I'm going to lean to Chicago as well. Getting points I find is tempting. You could argue it's a revenge spot. In reality, the loser's going home. I don't know if you need extra motivation in an elimination game, but I do think Chicago had them last year and let them off the hook. So I am going to go with Chicago to get the job done. And this time around, Miami offensively was atrocious throughout that entire Philly game. The real story was they went to a zone defense and Philly kept turning it over. But just watching the actual half-court offense, a lot of really ugly possessions throughout the course of that game, and they kind of ran out of options because Butler could not bail them out. Hero was inefficient. But you're just going down the line of what Miami had offensively. What did they have offensively? Bam scored 10 points. They didn't have anybody. They couldn't score. And I feel like you're looking at Chicago. They have options. Now, you can make an argument that Vucevic isn't reliable. I'd agree with you. But at least he can give you probably a double-double in this game. You're looking at DeRozan, who we know can give you a big scoring game. Kobe White, who No offense, Sean, I think should be most improved player because Maxey was already
Yeah.
good. But the point is,
that was
Kobe
a
White's turned
weird
himself.
market.
Yeah, he's turned himself into a serious threat offensively. And you're looking at the health of these teams and Miami. Rozier's already been ruled out. They needed him. He didn't play in the last game, but they don't have enough ball handlers. The issue that I have with Miami is that they need to make the game as ugly as possible. And that's what they did against Philly, and they ended up losing anyway. Because in the end, they could not score. They need the game to be a rock fight, 90s Knicks type atmosphere, just basically tackling anybody going to the rim and trying to hope the refs don't call it. That's what they were doing against Philly, and it worked out for most of the game.
Yeah, that was the game flow in Philly. Like it felt weird when they actually called a foul in that game. And then, which again made it so weird when they were calling that holding on the inbound at the end of the game. It's like, wait, you're calling that now after you've been letting these guys tackle each. I mean, I'm all down for letting them play, but you have to kind of keep that consistent throughout the game.
Kind of the opposite.
But the way that I looked at it was, it just felt like the Heat had one way to win. And that was not by outscoring their opponent. It was by trying to make the game as ugly as possible by just playing great defense. And I do think this team, with Rozier being out and with Jimmy being out, I don't think they can score. Just as simple as that. I'll lean to Chicago in the spot. I think that the offense is better. And I think they're looking at Miami. Maybe the zone works. Maybe they end up finding a way because of Miami's reputation. In reality, based on who's playing in this game, I think the wrong team's favored. And I didn't see much from Miami that made me encouraged for their potential to actually make the playoffs. I'm going to lean Chicago here. They lost this game last year in a game they probably should have won, and now the Heat are in trouble. Give me the Bulls.
Revenge.
I see the case, and I don't feel great fading Munaf and Scott. I feel okay fading Kramer because it sounds like he's on the Bulls. I'm riding with producer Josh and his Miami Heat. And you certainly laid out a great case, both of you guys, but I would counter with this. Eric Spoelstra versus Billy Donovan in an elimination playoff atmosphere game at home. That's to fair. Me, I think Spoelstra, I believe in this guy as a head coach. The Heat are 13-9 without Jimmy Butler. Like, they've played almost a quarter of their season without him. I think they can figure things out. I also liked what I saw out of Camarillo legend, UCLA Bruin, Jaime Jaquez.
He's got some grit.
Him attacking the rim, I think, is a pretty fun, and he's an interesting play in Underdog as well. I think, Scott, did you give out his over points for last game?
Yeah, I gave out the 6.5, and I even gave out the 9.5, like plus 280, and he had 15.
No.
I think 15 was like 8-1, but that line was a joke. Butler getting injured helped, of course, but yeah, Jaquez is a solid player. I like him. I like the under in this game. Yeah. I know it's a 205. I don't know how that game against Philly went over. That game was disgusting for about 2.5 quarters, and then you had 30-something points in the final 3 minutes. Miami's going to have to make the game ugly, no matter what. It's the only way they can possibly win. They need 42 combined points in the first quarter. They need an absolute rock fight. I'm going to lean to the under.
Kramer, it sounds like you're on the Bulls here.
The handicap seems simple. It's no Jimmy Butler, no Michael Jordan DNA in this game. Real quick, I wanted to interrupt our show because Colby's cult people have showed up. We got a shout out for Dundee and White Tiger.
Well, and shout out to Nathan in the YouTube chat. Yeah. His YouTube profile is of a video poker win, which just like #DegenZoli. I love you, Nathan. That's an awesome YouTube profile.
What is that? Quads? What is that? Quad aces?
Yeah, quad
aces.
Nice.
Oh man, that's awesome. Nice. Shout out to you.
Oh, beautiful. All right, shall we get into the? So just so everyone's clear, that was not the playoffs. That was the play-in.
It is postseason basketball, right?
Postseason basketball. It's all very confusing.
And of course, Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. They have special if you are just hopping in on Underdog Fantasy now. They're going to have special, and it's only for our promo codes on the network. So SGPN, if you use that promo code, 100% deposit match, and you'll get that bonus. Pick 'em entry. Usually they make it like higher, lower, a half point for someone like Bam Adebayo, something that would seem very doable. Of course, they did notoriously give out higher, lower Aaron Rodgers passing yards for his first game, which was a pretty comical disaster. When they were unable to avoid it legally. So, but most of these are just pretty easy if you know what we're saying. Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Before we move on to the Saturday Sunday games, I think it would be fun put together a little entry. I like and I'll leave it to the experts here, Ryan, Munaf and Scott. But are we running it back with Jaquez? Scott, how say you? What do you like in either of these playing games?
Jaquez now is at what, 13.5, I think.
Yeah. I guess that's a decent jump.
I mean, probably. I'm trying to think of who's going to score for this team. Hero's going to get the attempts. He was very inefficient. I like Hero assists in this game. I talked about it with Munaf when we previewed this upcoming matchup. I like Hero assists. He had 9 assists. You get distracted by, I forgot how many shot attempts he had, like 24, 27. It was disgusting, 27. But he had 9 assists. So I think Hero assists is a look. Yeah, Jaquez made me money. So I can't get mad at him. So yeah, I don't mind Jaquez going higher, 13.5 too.
All right. So we got Jaquez. Jaquez higher 13.5. Say it with your throat,
Sean.
Jaquez. What about Jaquez and the Hero assists? Maybe we do a 3-teamer here. Munaf, anything you like here in the plan?
Take a look at something in the other game.
Can't be someone on the Heat.
Yeah, no more Heat. We can go Bulls. Obviously, anyone in the Pels Kings is interesting.
Trey Murphy threes, if you can find that. I think
that's the one we talked about on the NBA.
Yeah,
show. I like Trey Murphy threes.
Okay, so Trey Murphy 3.5 3-pointers made. Higher is actually a little spicy at 1.1x.
Yeah,
so that's fun. Like it. All right, so Trey Murphy higher 3.5 3-pointers. Jaquez higher 13.5 points, and Tyler Hero assists higher at 6. All right, Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Kicking it to the Saturday games. Kramer, what do we got?
All right. Well, we got, like, as I was building up to, this is the actual playoffs, so get excited. We got the 5-4 matchup. Orlando taking on Cleveland. Beautiful city of Cleveland. It's been great. Per Caitlin Clark, it's been great in Cleveland. 4.5 the Cavs are laying here against the upstart Magic. Remember back when we were young and Shaq showed up to town?
Little Penny.
People got excited for a bit and then they went away for a while.
Plus, that's kind.
Well, yeah, exactly. Plus 155 for the Magic. 180 minus 185 for the Cavs. 207 is the total. Munaf tripped me up with a slightly different format here for the numbers.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
All right. So typically with the NBA, you just close your eyes and you just pick the home team. This is an interesting spread here. I know the Magic have been exciting and electric per my nephew who hails in Florida. Shout out to Florida. My instincts say take the points. I look at the betting splits. It suggests I should take the points. Scott, should I take the points?
I'm going to be biased because I lean to Orlando because I don't trust this Cavs team. So I guess I'm going to lean Orlando. You could argue that there might be some game 1 jitters because they have a lot of young, inexperienced playoff guys on this team. I still don't really like Cleveland. I think that this overall roster doesn't exactly gel together when all the stars are healthy. I love the under. Just blindly give me the under in all these games. It's going to be disgusting. So I think it's going to be an absolute rock fight. The unders have done very well in the play-in. The only exception was the Hawks, and the Sixers had a miracle over, but the Hawks don't play any real defense. They play Washington Generals defense. That doesn't count. The other games were extremely low scoring. I see a pretty similar story here. First team to 90 wins, maybe not even 100. So my favorite play is going to be the under in basically every game. My question, though, for both of you guys, you're going to be watching this game or the UFL?
Oh, wow.
It'll be on the screen. It'll be on God's side.
I mean, if I'm being honest,
we got 8 screens.
I'm going to be at a volleyball tournament in Orange County with my daughter. But it'll be, I probably the UFL will be on the screen. Although I will say at these events, they tend to have the NBA will probably be on some TV. So I probably have eyes on the product.
Do you think they have NBA TV at the volleyball tournament?
You'd be surprised. Hopefully, I'd say it's probably plus 185. We got live NBA action, but the UFL will be on my phone.
I'm with Scott. I like this. I've kind of like this Magic team, maybe just because how dominant they've been. I think they are the best team ATS this season, 51-31. So pretty safe bet. Now a lot of that was them as a favorite, not quite as good as a dog, but again, I like this Magic team, and it's more just a fate of this this Cavs team who have really cratered 11-16 since the All-Star break. They're sub 500 against the spread as a favorite. Their defense, which was really why they were so good for a while, like they had the number 2 defense in the league, I think, for a good portion of the season. And Scott hit on it. Like it just feels like they don't have a lot of team chemistry. This Donovan Mitchell probably leaving thing is looming over the over this game.
Probably is generous, by the way. He's going to leave. It's just a matter of when
going to leave.
He's leaving.
So you got this mercenary vibe from one of your better players. I like the Magic plus 4.5. I think they're one of these young teams playing fast and loose. I don't think they're going to be too freaked out about playing in Cleveland. So
you gave out them to win game 1, win series plus 390.
Yeah. So I got to stick with that. Yeah, give me the Magic all day here. Munaf, how say you?
Yeah, I think the only thing that makes me nervous about this Magic team, I know sometimes we throw the regular season stats out the window. They were 9-19 straight up as an away dog, but they were 15-13 covering the spread. Scott mentioned maybe they do have a little bit of jitters coming out of the gate. For a lot of these young guys, it is their first playoff game, in their careers. So I think this is a huge game for the Cleveland Cavaliers because I think we'll find out if they're serious or not. And we know that Donovan Mitchell is going to be leaving this Cavs team regardless of the result. If they somehow miraculously get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I'm going to take the points here as well. I think that once the Magic do settle into this game, I think they are. I don't want to say playing with house money, but I think they're a confident bunch. And I think when you have that confidence going up against a team that you guys mentioned that doesn't really have that team chemistry right now, I think the Magic can keep this one close here. I'll take the plus 4.5 here with the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, all in. Kramer, you're riding the Magic train.
If this was an essay in college, the thesis was clear. Should I take the points? I think unanimously, yes. I'm taking the points. Let's go Magic. Still pretty fire logo. Phoenix Suns, the 6th seed. Timberwolves, the 3 seed. A lot of people feel it's fraudulent. I remember when we broke down the series itself. That was kind of the highlighted piece of the Phoenix, why we like the Phoenix Suns. 214.5 is the total. Timberwolves laying 1.5, minus 120 on the money line. Suns plus 100. Munaf, are we just going to follow through on the idea that the Suns are live here? And so if we think they're live to win the series, we love the idea that they come out and steal game 1.
Yeah, I think that this is a statement game for the Phoenix Suns. You come out here with the 3-headed monster or 2.5-headed monster, whatever you want to call it, with Bradley Beal kind of being that half man.
He's not a full head.
Yeah, we'll call it a two-headed monster with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I think they come out here and play some great basketball. The health is still a concern for Karl Anthony Towns. Is that going to mess with the team chemistry? Him just recently coming back. And again, for this team is how many guys do you have in the Minnesota Timberwolves that can create their own shot, that if they do game plan to find a way to slow Anthony Edwards down, who has struggled against his Phoenix Suns team, who steps up in a case where he's not having a great game. I don't trust Karl Anthony Towns. I think for the Suns team, they have options on guys who can score the basketball. I think that Kevin Durant, he did have a bad ending to the regular season, but I do think he comes out and plays well here. Devin Booker has been incredible in the playoffs historically when he was in there with the Phoenix Suns. I think this is a huge statement game here for the Phoenix Suns. Give me the money line here. Currently sit around even money, maybe it's minus 102. So I'll take the money line here for the Suns.
Scott, you riding with the Suns as well here?
So I picked the Suns to win the series. I think I had Suns in 6 initially. But I also said when we previewed the series, if Minnesota loses game 1, I just think the series is over. Just immediately. I'm going to lean Minnesota in this one. I think it's a game they need to have, just simply put. So, and maybe it's a case where the Suns' experience shows up and maybe they just beat up on this team. It's possible. But I think Minnesota needs this game. Simply put, I know it's tough to call a game 1 a must-win game, But I think you'd agree when you're 0-3 in the regular season and you've lost every game by 10 plus points, and in the last game the Suns buried you, which is why you're in this 2 spot. Well, I mean, I don't know if it mattered anyway. It's why you're in the 3 spot, because Denver jumped them because they lost the final game. I'm going to take Minnesota here. Do I think Minnesota's going to win the series? No. But I do think that for one game with the home crowd, they can use the momentum, they can ride the energy, and get the job done. I think it's a game they need to win, just simply put. I think Phoenix knows if they lose game 1, it's fine. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think this game matters a lot more to Minnesota than it does to Phoenix. I'll take Minnesota.
Oh, this is always the toughest, where it's, if they know if they steal the first one, they can kind of tank the second one.
Yeah.
They also, like Scott said, they know they don't have to win the first one because they only have to steal one of 2. It's always complicated which game to push the chips on.
I'm assuming you agree, though, that this game matters a lot more to Minnesota than it does to Phoenix.
Well, or the next one does.
Well,
that's the tricky part.
I'm with Kramer. I think whoever and to Scott, who I think has a similar attack.
I think we're on the same page.
Whoever wins game 1, this is like the ultimate zigzag. I'd love the other team probably to win the second game. I'm going back and forth because I do like Suns to win the series, but Scott's point about this kind of being a must win for them. And you look at some of the matchups. Edwards only scored 43 points in the 3 games that they played the Suns. That feels like that's
combined.
43 points combined, which you can look at it 2 ways. 1, do they know how to defend this guy? Or 2, is he really, and he does seem like he has another gear that he's flipped into. You saw it when Cat was out, but then the counter to that is, these last couple games, Cat came back. They weren't really flowing well offensively. And on the defensive side, they are pretty aggressive. They foul a bunch, and then Suns are great at getting the line, great at hitting their free throws.
Phoenix. That's it.
Well, that works for the playoffs, doesn't it? Because the refs don't call as many fouls.
Yeah.
They might let Minnesota get away with it.
I'm gonna go Minnesota. It's close though. I think I'm just gonna bet Sun series and not bet this game. But should be a good game.
What? What do you mean you're not going to bet this game?
I mean, I probably will end up betting the game, but I'll hop in live. That's
I'm
what
not going to bet.
No, I'll take Minnesota minus 1.5.
You're going to bet. You're going to bet Phoenix wins game 1, Minnesota wins game 2, then Phoenix wins game 3. You're going to bet we're going to bet some exact series.
I mean, that's really cruel that the sports books put those out there, because they know how tempting they are. Where it's like, all right, they win game 1 and then 2, and then they got those other 2 games. All right, like, come on, we'll fall for that.
Let's have the discipline just to do a mechanical parlay. Screw your sucker bets. I'm doing my mechanical
parlay all the way.
All right, so that was a true split there. That was fun.
Yeah,
we're on opposite sides. All right, Sean, this one just means more.
Yes.
Sixers, Knicks. It doesn't seem like it means a lot. I'll be honest. 208.5 for the total. -3 for the Knicks in the Garden. I heard Stephen A. being insanely obnoxious on TV. He is in rare form right now. -140 for the Knicks, +120 for the Sixers. All right. So the narrative I've heard out there is that there's the popular opinion is the Sixers just about to get hot, go win a championship, be the threat to the Celtics. So there's some value in the Knicks. Munaf, am I correct in this analysis? And do I like the Knicks here in game 1 at the Garden? It's electric.
Yeah, I think for game 1 you got to go with the Knicks here. I did pick the Sixers to win this series, but I think this is a spot here for the New York Knicks that, with that home crowd, this is a short number. I think that they'll come out here and play great basketball. The question mark right now is, how healthy is Joel Embiid? Is he 50%? Is he 60%? Is he 70%? I think we'll find out as the series goes along. But I think this Knicks team is going to be ready. I feel like they may be feeling a little disrespected here, right? Because again, they finished up as a 2 seed. They're going to be without arguably their second best player in Julius Randle. And it's going to be a series of adjustments. And I think that one coach that can make those adjustments will be Nick Nurse. But I think we'll see in game 1 that why this New York Knicks team ended up as a number 2 seed. And again, they're role players. I know Scott will expand on that because he's one of his favorite role players on this Knicks team. But I think that Jalen Brunson will come out and play well. I think their front court defense with Mitchell Robinson, with Isaiah Hartenstein, I think they'll give fits to Joel Embiid, at least in this first game. So, and maybe there are some tired legs for the Philadelphia 76ers coming off of that, the comeback victory against the Miami Heat. So, with all that being said, I'll take the Knicks in game 1 -3.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Knicks in this one. I had the Knicks to win the series. I do agree the Knicks are being disrespected. I guess my question for Sean, yes, I know Embiid was very good down the stretch, even though he looked pretty awful, if we're being honest, for about 3 quarters in that game. Am I supposed to fall in love with the Sixers team because Nicholas Batum bailed you out of the 9-10 matchup?
Yes,
bailed you out of the next playing game?
Yes.
Like, I feel like people are looking at Philly going, well, people are looking at the Sixers going like, oh yeah, they beat Miami. Like, they can beat this Knicks team. And I'm looking at this going, what is Embiid at, 50%? Like, he had a hard time moving throughout the game. Hield was great facilitating, but he didn't shoot the ball well. Maxey didn't shoot the ball well. The game was ugly itself, and then Batum took over. I'm not going to overreact because a role player went nuts in one game. I feel like the Knicks, once again, have proven throughout the entire season that they are worthy of being this 2 seed. They've battled injuries too. I know Philly got some guys back, Embiid most importantly, but I'm going to lean to New York. I think it's a good spot for them. They have the home crowd definitely to support them. I don't know who's going to guard Brunson on this Sixers team. They don't really have a great guy for him. I think you'd agree, even though you do love Maxey as a player, not exactly known for his defense.
Not a dog.
Not exactly a good defensive
come on,
player.
he's a dog. But yes, you're right.
I like how that completely deflected what I said. Okay. But the point is, Maxey's not a great defensive player, and I'm trying to think who's going to guard Brunson, and I don't really have an answer. And I understand that the Sixers have the best player in the series when healthy. The question is now, with Embiid being at 50%, is Embiid the best player in the series? I don't know. It might be Brunson because he's at full strength.
Might be Brunson.
It might be Brunson. It might be Joel Embiid. They're 32-8 with Joel Embiid. 32-8. And Scott, you made a bunch of good points, and I'm going to try and use some of those against you. You said Maxey shot like shit. Embiid played like shit for the first 3 quarters. Weren't hitting any shots, and they still won the game. This Sixers team under Doc Rivers would have lost that game by 6 points, and then would be sweating out this play-in game against the Bulls. Like, this is a different team. This is the Nick Nurse team. They're gonna figure out ways to win close games. Nick Nurse in the playoffs, 25-16, and he never had a guy like Joel Embiid. Yes, he did have Kawhi that one season, but for the most part, he's pretty good at getting teams up for playoff series and getting them to exceed their expectations. Tom Thibodeau, 31-41 in the playoffs because he's run his guys down during the regular season. They're tired. They don't want any part of this. I think the Sixers, especially in this first game, will be playing a little bit loose, and they have random guys like Batum that can come up and shoot big. And they figured out Tobias Harris shouldn't be on the court. That's a good thing. So yeah, give me the Sixers +3, and don't be surprised, guys, if they're a live dog. 3 points. Come on. What are we talking about? Kramer
in the Garden. Do you know how electric this environment?
Oh, there's going to be some Sixers fans there.
It's going to be very lit. Don't be disrespectful to the Mecca. Jalen Brunson, come on. This is the moment. This is the moment. This is seal it up. Knicks start their run. They probably don't finish it because, like you said, Tibbs runs the guys into the ground. But it'll be fun to be a Knicks fan for the next 7 to 10 games.
Sixers also win the series.
It's the -110. That's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. All these donkey Philadelphia sports fans that pop their head up and are like, "Oh, basketball." At least I admit it. I mean, come on. The Sixers are like the 5th team in Philadelphia.
The Water Dogs.
Embiid,
4th.
Yeah, Water Dogs might be the 4th. Embiid is soft.
How dare you? Right?
Over under 69 minutes played in this series.
Smash the over.
What are you guys taking? Over or under 69 minutes in the series?
We're talking about for Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going over.
Over.
Yeah, come on.
I'll
I thought
take the
you were
under.
gonna bet up
are-
on. I thought you were gonna put a bet up of how many times he's gonna hunch over and grab his knee. Like that's an interesting
his-
prop bet to make.
Come on,
That's
man.
it. That number should be 69.
That's
He'll
part
play
of
the
his
minutes,
game,
but
Scott. That's part of his game. He's always
it is.
falling to the ground and then
Yeah.
hunching over and then making a couple nice plays at the end of the game.
Remind
By the way,
me of
Sean,
my
I want to
daughter
ask you,
on-
what you say the record was again with Embiid playing for the Sixers this season? You said it was 32-8, 33-8. What were they?
32-8, I think. Yep.
Does that include the Miami game?
So it was. I'm pretty sure it was 31-8, and then
Okay, so now
added
it's
the Miami.
32-8.
Yeah.
I am going to ask you. Embiid played 1 out of the 4 games against the Knicks this season. It was a while back. It was in January. Game was in Philly. You want to guess who won that game?
I know that the Knicks won that game. Scott,
You know how much
but
they won
again,
by?
You know, it's a small sample size. It's
Won by
regular
36
season.
points.
That was
Just saying,
not
they won by
Embiid, though,
36
wasn't it?
points. Just going to throw it out there. Embiid's played
that
1
makes
game
me
against the Knicks and they lost by 36.
That
Just saying.
makes me like it even more. Revenge
Okay,
game
just
for
saying.
Joel Embiid. He got
So-
embarrassed by Tom Thibodeau in the regular season.
I'm a big fan of Professor Scott testing you on the spot.
I'm just
like
asking,
this.
I
you know,
appreciate
because
it.
you mentioned the record, but the one of the 8 times they lost was by 36 points to the Knicks with Embiid
Yeah, but
playing.
it's a one game sample size. So
I get the
yes,
point
in
you're
that-
making, but
in that one
I want to ask
game-
you as a Sixers fan, how did you feel watching Embiid? Just I know he was good in the 4th quarter, but did it bother you how injured he looked, and do you think that's concerning?
Yeah, no, I mean, but again, it's like you've kind of just lived with this the entire Embiid era, right? Like this is just par for the course of like he's always working through something. He's a giant human being that's probably not meant to jump and run around on a basketball court. He's always nicked up, pun intended, but then to his credit, like he hit some shots, he had some plays there at the end of the game when it really mattered. So that's what I'm banking on. It's all I got. I wish they would have never. I wish they would have never got rid of Jimmy
Right.
Butler. They need a dog like him in their kennel. But yeah, I mean, no, it certainly you're always worried about, you know, Embiid taking a fall and not getting back up. But it's kind of the Embiid experience.
You
Knicks
can say the same thing about half of the roster for New York.
It's true.
Knicks in 4.
Knicks
You got
in
a
4.
prediction, Sean?
I'll say Sixers in 6.
All right.
You have the
nice.
Sixers losing 2 games. What happened to the Sean that I know? I thought you were going to pick them in 4. What happened, man?
Sixers.
He's
in
becoming
4.
a sharp.
Sixers
Yeah, you're
in 4.
wavering a little bit. What happened there?
All right. Well, do you guys have a series prediction?
I got Knicks in 7.
Knicks and
I got
7.
Sixers
Munaf?
in 6.
Oh, you copied Sean.
Yes.
All right.
Smart man.
Maybe a little
Lakers.
biased, but
The Lakers, some say they should have lost in the play-in tournament to not face the Nuggets. Turns out in a tournament, you eventually have to play everyone. Nuggets laying 6.5 at elevation. Plus 225 for the Lakers. Total is 223. Isn't the story just been the Denver has just absolutely skull fucked the Lakers of late?
Yes.
Okay.
Ryan. They have won.
Excuse my language.
Yeah, really
excuse my
offensive.
French.
Nuggets have won 8 games in a row against the Lakers. But the interesting part, like if you remember the Western Conference finals, some are calling it the most competitive sweep of all time. There were, I mean, the Lakers hung around in all those games. Like, yeah, they lost 4-0, but it was by a combined 24 points. And you know, I actually now I do like the Nuggets for the series. I think Nuggets -1.5 is like -140. I like that. Even Nuggets -2.5 I think is pretty good there as well. I think Lakers get 1, maybe. I think 2
Do
is
they?
probably asking a bunch. Well, this Lakers team I think is better than last year. The Nuggets a little thinner as far as their roster. They don't quite have the depth they had previously. That could be an issue. And I do think the Lakers, you want to talk about must-win situation. I wouldn't be surprised they empty the tank in this first game. Are we calling this at 6.5 or 7.5?
The sheet, I think it moved to 6.5 since the rundown. Yeah.
So 6.5.
Should I waited to put my bet in?
Yeah, I'll take it with the points here because I do think Lakers go out and the Nuggets, as good as they've been this season in the regular season, especially, like they win these games, but they don't blow teams out. I think this is going to be kind of a little close. Nuggets very good usually in the first quarter. They've been dominant so far this season, but I think Lakers hang around, make it a little bit of a game, especially late. But I don't know if they're a live dog, but I'm definitely taking the 6.5. Scott, how say you? Lakers Nuggets.
Yeah, I'm on the fence here because I've seen in the past LeBron's teams would tend to punt game one and they'd find a way to win game two and make it a series. Last year that wasn't the case. They came out and they beat Memphis in game one. They did well in a lot of these game one. So
yeah,
it's interesting because as you said, the series last year was close. Not based on actual games, but based on the actual game flow of each game. It was competitive. It was not the most competitive sweep of all time, though, but it was up there. A point is, I think you're looking at a spot where I'm going to lean Denver. I feel like you can probably get a better number in game, especially in the first half. You might be able to find potentially a 3.5 or something live. My concern for the Lakers is if they fall behind early, is there a chance they just roll over and just decide we'll get them in game two?
Yes.
Possible. It wouldn't shock me. I've seen LeBron's teams year after year, maybe not last year, but a large portion. If they were down in game one, it was okay, we'll get them in game two. And it felt like they were treating game one more as like a boxer in the early rounds, as a feel-out process. We're going to see what happens. We'll test some stuff out, maybe stuff we can use later in the series. I think that might happen here. I'm going to lean to Denver in this game. I think the Lakers keep it close, maybe get a better number in play. But I do think eventually the Lakers fall behind and they kind of mail it in.
I mean,
it's like a baseball team at the deadline.
LeBron has been 31-22 in game one of the NBA playoffs, which I couldn't find the ATS number. And to Scott's point, I think a lot of those losses were probably worse than they should have been. You know, like a decent number of those losses were probably when he was, favored by a decent number. And to his point, where they did get behind and maybe punted. It does feel like as of late, though, these past couple LeBron years, they have been taking the game one a little bit more serious, trying to not play with their food. I mean, certainly they're not favored in this case. They
are the food.
Yeah, they are the food in this case. But which to me would suggest they are going to just completely empty the tank here. And go. We were
same as the Suns. Are they going to go hard game one, or do they rest up one more day?
I think they go hard game one,
and they go game two because they're an old team. They're load management. I mean, load management in the playoffs would be the next step in the progression.
But to Scott's point too, like if they don't hang around in game one, I think game two they could get really blown out. And just watching Denver this season, they haven't blown teams out. So. Traditionally,
I'll lay it.
I don't have the number in front of me, but them as a big favorite hasn't been great. ATS
different season. This is the playoff.
That's a good counter. Munaf, what's your take on this game?
There's a lot of talk or a lot of talking by the Denver Nuggets, and rightfully so, last year when they swept them in the playoffs in the Western Conference. But if that, whatever. And Anthony Davis at the beginning of the season came out, they got us. They got us in the Western Conference, but he said him and LeBron had a lot of conversations. Whatever that meant. But I think that there was
their red wine.
There's also the conversation that people think that they should have punted the game against the Pelicans in the play-in tournament to avoid.
Thank you for the +1. I appreciate the +1.
Yeah, for the Lakers here. I think this is probably the most important game for the Lakers in game one. Like I think if they lose and get blown out in game one, this series is going to be probably over in 4. I'm going to go with the Lakers plus the points here. I'm going to sprinkle some on the money line here as well. I think this is the most important game of the series for the Lakers. I think they come out and play well. There may be a little bit of rust for the Denver Nuggets because they haven't played because, again, they didn't have to play in that play-in tournament. But I think right now the Lakers are the more deeper team. I'm worried about the bench with this Denver Nuggets. And again, let's just say Jokic gets in some type of foul trouble. It's a possibility. I think that the Lakers come out here. They're motivated. Anthony Davis has a big game one. LeBron has a big game one. I would be expecting those guys to play 40 plus minutes, honestly, in this game one. So give me the Lakers plus the points here. I'm going to put something on the money line as well.
Get me my broom. Sweep.
I don't know. Not so.
Come on.
I'll say
it's the NBA. It's the first round.
I will say I do like Denver -1.5 for the series. So either Denver 4-1.
What's
Worst
that
case,
price?
Denver 4-2. I think that's like minus 140.
Oh, all right.
I have Denver in 6, so that's where I'm at in the series.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Oh, two games.
Munaf, how
Interesting.
say you on the series?
I want to be
Whoa.
contrarian and pick the Lakers. I really
Do
do.
it. I dare you.
I came out.
No one's picking the Lakers.
I came here. What was it? 2 seasons ago when the Lakers faced, was it the Phoenix Suns in the first round, and nobody was giving them a chance.
Is that the was that the Drummond series or that was the other one?
I don't know. I don't remember, but I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago. I think it's a more competitive series, but I just feel like that the thing that's going to make the difference is the coaching mismatch. I don't trust Darvin Ham. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Coach LeBron?
No, I don't trust him either.
I mean that weird HGH that's helping his hair grow back. I don't know about that.
As much as I want to take the Lakers here, I think the Denver Nuggets do get it done, and then we'll see LeBron and Steph Curry pair up, whether that's in the Laker uniform or that's in a Warriors uniform.
Ryan, before we get to the Sunday games, of course, puck drops on the Stanley Cup playoffs this weekend.
Yes.
Hockey Gambling Podcast guys got you covered. Talon, Ryan, and Joel breaking down every series leading up to Saturday's opening games. And we'll keep the picks and laughs coming all postseason long. Make sure you subscribe to the Hockey Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, giving away $200 cash in our NBA playoff round 1 prop contest. The link to sign up is in our Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/discord. Get in there, click the NBA link or the NBA channel. It's right there. It's pinned. You can't miss it. Get in over there. And of course, shout out to Unified Healing. You know, I could see a guy like LeBron James getting into Unified Healing because he's a world-class athlete. And you know, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being, proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why it makes sense they're sponsoring the NBA picks, NBA playoff picks episode. Because again, these guys, 82 game season, well, 60 for most, but now you're going into the playoffs. You got to be a peak physical, mental performance. EE System can help make that happen. Check out the Unified Healing. It's a new, super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by the Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in LA or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/SGPN to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/SGPN. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE System.
Well done, Sean. All right. Sunday, April 21st. Got a little Pacers 6 seed, Bucks 3 seed. We're gonna have all the Fear of the Deer stuff is back. My favorite part of it's one of my other favorite parts of NBA playoff season is fearing deer. No one fears deer, but they will fuck your car up if you run into them at 50 miles an hour. Pacers -1 here on the road. What's this little Midwestern battle? 233.5 is the total. Scott, what are we doing?
I'm going to have to lean Indiana because my main play in the series was Indiana win game 1, Milwaukee win the series, and that was plus 400. So I'm going to have to keep going with it. Maybe Milwaukee has a nice step-up game without Giannis. Everyone's counting them out. You can have this whole moment. Yeah, I'll fade Doc Rivers in game 1 without Giannis. The argument is for Milwaukee, they need a Lillard to play very well. That's just how it's going to go. Now, Portis can give you some good minutes. Middleton's been a mess this season, and not enough people have really talked about it. Lillard has been getting roasted, I think fairly, for how he's played for most of the season. They just have a lot of guys, a lot of older pieces that have been around that have really not been that reliable this season. And you could argue that Indiana is a team that might also be a little bit nervous. A lot of guys making their first appearance in the playoffs, Halliburton, for example. They've done well against this team. And I think these teams hate each other. So you might get some bad blood. And now you got Pat Bev involved. So that might be even more fun. But I think you're looking at a spot where Indiana is going to come out here and they'll get the job done. Won't be easy. I'm not picking Indiana to rout this team in game one. Give me a close game. I think Doc Rivers does something down the stretch to blow the game. I think Indiana wins, but I do think, once again, the better play, in my opinion, is Pacers win game one, Milwaukee win series at 4-1.
I'm all over the Pacers here, all over the Pacers series. Being a sharp, I grabbed the Pacers series at plus 200 when it opened. It's down to like plus 130, I think.
Wow.
Crazy line movement. I mean, just so I've already won.
They're favored in game one, and they're still dogs in the series. That's pretty interesting.
Which is very weird because I guess they're factoring in they believe Giannis will come back. If he does come back, I think that's kind of oddly best case scenario for the Pacers is that he plays, but that he's not 100%. Because again, if he was really close, he would still be playing game one at home. The Pacers have owned the Bucks. They're 4-1 against them this season, including knocking them out of the in-season tournament. So they've already kind of had
revenge.
They've already kind of had a postseason environment in the play-in tournament, knocking out these Bucks. Now, granted, it wasn't in Milwaukee. They didn't have the wacky court colors, but Bucks offense since they brought Doc in here has cratered. They were number 2 in offensive rating. They've dropped down to 18th in offensive rating. Top 3 effective field goal and free throws, now down to 13. He's calling out the travel guys. Dame Lillard isn't practicing a bunch. There's just, the Bucks and the Cavs. Honestly, that's kind of what has me excited about the Sixers. Knock on wood, that teams like the Cavs, teams like the Bucks, the mojo, the chemistry feels so rotten right now. And then you throw on top of it the Giannis injury. Now maybe they all rally. Maybe Dame is saying Dame time, but this isn't an all-star game. The teams play defense, and Dame has struggled. He's also kind of banged up himself. I think I really like Pacers in the spot. Munaf?
I'm trying to figure out which game the Bucks step up in at home. Is it come out in game one, or is it game two with their back against the walls? I think it's game one. I think everybody's gonna look at, Giannis is not playing, and tend to believe that role players do play better at home, especially in the playoff environment. So I think that, like you mentioned, that the Pacers have owned this Bucks team at least during the regular season and the in-season tournament. But I think that the Bucks team rise to the occasion here in game one. I think Dame has a good game. I think Bobby Portis will be a monster in this game. There's not really any front court depth for this Pacers team as far as defense goes. So I think that he's going to have a big game. If it was, once it gets to 3-1, like I mentioned, then I'll start fading the Bucks led by Doc Rivers here. So I'll take the Bucks in game one. Give me the +1 and give me the money line.
Yeah, this is we same narrative. You got to pick one of the games. This is the game. Fear the deer. Told you. I led off with it. This is when we fear the deer. And then you realize that you just run the deer over. But that happens next. First, the deer scares you, aka fear.
So you're scared by the deer.
I took him to win the series, so I do need to have a prayer. I can't. If they go down game one, it's over. It's bad news for the deer. All right.
Last game, Ryan.
Last game. So many great basketball games over the weekend, Sean. Too bad I'll be watching youth volleyball. Dallas Mavericks. Shout out to Mark Cuban again for paying his taxes. The 5 seed.
He's the real hero.
Also, shout out to.
I forgot to tweet out. I'm actually paying $289 million. Yeah. So a little bit more than Mark Cuban.
Fuck you, Mark Cuban. Los Angeles Clippers, led by Steve Ballmer, the 4 seed. They're laying a point. 225 is the total. And this is a tricky one too, because which game do you want to lean into the Clippers angle? Munaf, I'll let you go first. What are we doing here in game one?
Yeah, I like the Mavs in this spot. I think they just come out and bury this Clippers team, at least in game one. We've seen some reports that there's cautious optimism that Kawhi Leonard does play in this game. But I just think that Luka, Kyrie, and this team is just going to be ready to roll over this Clippers team. It's just the fact that I don't trust this Clippers team. Again, if Kawhi Leonard ends up playing this game, he ends up getting hurt, he's going to be gone for the rest of the season. For the rest of this series. And then at that point, do I trust James Harden? I've seen that movie before. Not going to put my money on a guy like James Harden in the playoffs. Yeah, he has some flashes, but Luka and Kyrie are just going to be too much, and I think they're going to run around circles against this Clippers team. So Mavs game 1 in the series for me against the Clippers.
Scotty, what are you doing here?
Yeah, so there are rumors, or I heard some reports that the Clippers are cautiously optimistic that Kawhi is going to play. Good luck with that one. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. I don't know how he's going to look. I don't know if it's going to play anyway. So we'll see what happens, but there is a chance that Kawhi does suit up for this game. I'm going to take Dallas in the spot. I have Dallas in 5. I think the series is going to be pretty one-sided. Question, though. Ty Lue and the Clippers did win Game 1 last year against the Suns. Ty Lue, though. I don't know if it's really a question, but I'll ask you this. Do you know how many times Ty Lue's won a single Game 1 in his last, let me just pull this up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His last 6 playoff series. You want to guess how many times he's won Game 1?
One.
That's correct.
2.
It's 1.
I know how to take a test.
Yeah, it's 1.
I saw Professor Scott pulling.
I kind of telegraphed it. I tried to hand over the answers, but Sean was being a good student.
No, I want to be contrarian.
Half of the SAT was just game theory on these multiple choice questions. That's how you crush it.
All right, I'm gonna.
Point is, Ty Lue, historically speaking, has been a really bad Game 1 head coach. We know Ty Lue treats every playoff series as a marathon. They're going to try some stuff. Maybe you learned it from LeBron. They're going to try some things out, see what works, and if it doesn't work, whatever. We'll get him in Game 2. That's kind of how he goes about his business. I'm taking Dallas. I think it's a good spot where this team's going to be motivated. They've lost to this team. Some players are still around, not just Luka. Hardaway Jr.'s been around. A couple of guys, Dwight Powell, if you want to count him. But there's been a couple of guys who have lost to the Clippers on numerous occasions in the playoffs. Maxi Kleber, too, if you want to throw in some names for fun. Point is, though, give me Dallas, and they're going to be pissed off. And I think the Clippers, without Kawhi, if he does come back, now you got to re-implement him into the offense, and how effective is he going to be? I have no idea. It's a serious distraction at this point because nobody really knows. Give me Dallas. I like them to potentially win this game comfortably.
Easy. Lock.
Ken is in the chat pointing out Luka MVP snub, also kind of adding to the motivation.
He's coming in 3rd place, by the way. Shay's ahead of him according to the recent voting.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I don't think he should have won, but I do think he will be motivated here. Mavs finished really strong, 16-2 last 18 games before they kind of like sat guys those last couple. I mean, Luka, his playoff averages 32.5 points, 9 boards, 8 assists. I was super skeptical of the Kyrie addition to this Mavs team, but it's working. They're looking good. I think they roll here. I love Scott's stat on Ty Lue. I'm gonna have to steal that for myself, but yeah, Mavs all day. Kramer,
easy. This
Dallas?
Is a lock. Yeah, I mean you can just mosey on along. I'm ready to fire.
Ready to fire. All right. Make sure again you get in on the NBA round 1 playoff props contest. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/discord. Click the NBA channel. The link is pinned there. Cannot miss it. I think we do 2 locks and a dog. Kramer, does that sound good?
Lock Orlando.
Oh, stole mine.
Actually,
no,
I'll save that. You know, I'll save that. I'll save.
Oh, maybe that's a dog play for you.
Lock Knicks. Lock Dallas. Dog Orlando.
So
Nailed
you got
it.
Knicks -3, Orlando on the money line, and sorry, what was your other one?
What do you mean? Dallas. Easy
Dallas.
money. Remember that we just talked about this.
Yeah, I'm writing it down while I'm reading, doing 2 things at once.
Let's go, scribe.
3 things if you count drinking whiskey. All right. Obviously the money line dog is the Philadelphia Sixers. Play the song. Let's go. Sixers roll. As far as my locks, I do really like Orlando to keep it close, +4.5, and then I want to put Pacers in there, but maybe Milwaukee shows up at home. I like Lakers a lot, but maybe that's a 0.5 point too short. I'll also take Dallas as a lock. I mean, the Clippers have got nothing going on home court, so feel good about that. So Orlando, lock it up.
Not
Dallas,
yet.
lock it up. Philly on the money line.
They're gonna have great home court in the new building.
Yeah,
that's gonna totally change everything.
Yeah, they need an empty new stadium. Munaf, what do you got? 2 locks and a dog.
It took me an hour 13 to realize, and maybe I'm sleep deprived, that the boss's 2 teams are going at it in a playoff series between the Knicks and the Sixers here. But all right, let's go Mavericks. Let's go Mavericks lock. on the spread.
Easy.
Let's go. Let's go Phoenix Suns plus the 1.5 as another lock.
That's nice.
I'll swing for the fences. Give me Lakers money line game 1.
Oh, look at you.
Let's go.
Look at you.
No risk it, no biscuit.
The ghost of Colby coming out. Let's go.
Scott, close us out. What do you got?
All right. So for the lock, I know we got a couple. I'll take Dallas. I can't really pick the Clippers.
Jesus.
Kawhi potentially comes back, and I don't know how he's going to look. Everyone's going to be out of sorts. I like Dallas to come in there pissed off, and I think they're going to be able to take care of business. Give me Dallas there. I'm going to take a total, actually, with my second lock. Give me the under in that early bird special between the Magic and the Cavs. I think that's going to be a disgusting series. Both teams offensively are slow as hell. We've seen a lot of really low-scoring playoff games so far, or play-in games so far. I see a rock fight. Kramer's going to have to get text updates because he'll be watching volleyball instead. But I'll go with the under in that one. I think it's about 207, I think was the number, which I just think is insanely high. I think these teams are going to kill each other. So give me under 207 as my second lock. For my dog, give me the Bulls in the play-in against Miami.
Okay.
Oh, look at you
Bulls as the small, 2-point dog there, closing it out.
Josh, make sure you highlight that everyone had the Mavericks on the lock.
Yes.
What could
go wrong?
All right, good times as always. Make sure you check out the NBA Gambling Podcast, guys. Wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you get in on YouTube. Very fun chat, so subscribe there. Smash all the subscribe buttons. Give them a follow on X as well. Radio Reichel. Sports Nerd 824 is Munaf. Kramer. We will be back here in the studio. VSiN show tomorrow, 6 o'clock Pacific on the West Coast, 9 o'clock East, wherever you get your VSiN.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
At Kramer Centric.
Kramer, let it ride.